Hey, it's Ron again. Good to see you. Now today on Bodyworkers we have CP.
Hey.
This is where I go to when I have problems. All right, CP, tell us what you do.
Well, I'm a physical therapist and I've been treating for about 15 years, and my specialty is knees, lower body injuries. Specifically, I work with soccer players consistently, and just been kind of working on some research projects. I do some writing for some orthopedic textbooks. I'm into the research world, so it's kind of what my passion has been recently.
All right. So what got you into this?
Myself, having numerous injuries. I've had about 10 surgeries, well over 20 broken bones. I've been in a lot of rehab. Yeah, a lot of rehab. So I got very interested in the field very quickly, and I love the process of returning athletes back to their sport. It's the big thing that I feel like was missing in therapy before. You'd go into rehab, you go right back to your sport, and most people would get injured again. Because they just never had that transition. So I thought I really want to do something a little different with the rehabilitation concept, and that's kind of how I got started.
All right. So how does it work? So I hear you're the knee whisperer, okay? Say you worked on specialized knees, okay? So I have a knee problem. When I come in here and I'm like limping or I have knee surgery, what's the process?
Well, knees are complicated, so it kind of depends on what your history is. I really like to get into the story of like what happened, how it happened, so that I can start putting some of the pieces of the puzzle together. I also have an awesome adjunct staff and team. I work with several knee orthopedic surgeons in town. I work in adjunct with manual therapists, soft tissue therapists, so that we can really kind of figure out what is actually going on with the joint, and is it cartilage related, is it ligament related, is it just soft tissue restrictions, are we dealing with arthritis, what kind of things are we dealing with. And I feel like having a longer evaluative process where we actually can look at all of those dimensions of the knee to kind of figure out what's really going on and get you in the right direction.
So insurance takes care of this, or is it like you come cash basis?
In Texas, we're a little bit weird. The law here says that you have to see a physician first before you can see a PT, and that sort of restricts us. You can't just come off the street, but you can use your insurance, or if you don't have insurance, of course you should, but if you don't, then you can do cash basis for fees, but you cannot just kind of walk into a PT clinic in Texas and say you want therapy and get it. So most of our referrals come from physicians that we work with closely.
So you work with a lot of doctors?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of family practice doctors and orthopedic surgeons, of course.
So what keeps you going day after day? What motivates you to, what's your passion?
Oh, I love seeing people who are really struggling with the process, because psychologically it's very taxing on people to be injured, especially when you're an active person, you're a competitive person, whether it's you're playing recreational sports or you're a collegiate or professional athlete. I mean, that's a big deal for people to be out of the element of what they've been doing in activity. So I love watching the transition of people really heal and return to whatever it is they love to do, sports specific things. And I like incorporating that into the rehab environment. So if you're a soccer player, there will be a soccer ball involved in your rehab. If you're a football player, baseball player, I want to integrate your sport into the rehab activities so that you enjoy what you're doing, you want to come to therapy, you get better. It's just a motivational tool, I think, that a lot of places unfortunately either don't have the space to use or the time to do it, and we really decided to do something a little different. So.
Okay, so you get a script, right? Because I know you get a script from a doctor and you have a certain, whatever the script says, so you kind of, I don't know, how do you work with that script as far as because I know you say you get them out in the field and get the ball, how does that work?
So basically the prescription will give me kind of a diagnosis, a general diagnosis, and sometimes it's very general, sometimes it's very specific, especially if it's post-op, like you've had a surgery. We work with those physicians to follow either a protocol that they like or a protocol that we already have, and then you follow the progressions based on how the patient is doing individually. Everybody's a little bit different, they heal at different time frames, they respond differently to different exercises or activities or modalities, and so basically once we get that prescription, it's good for a year, and you basically use it based on medical necessity. So as long as you need to be in therapy because you can't do something on your own, or you're requiring the skills services of a therapist, whether it be our hands or our assessment or kind of supervision to do things, then you basically use that prescription to finish out the rehab process. Then I could return somebody to like you for maintenance if they needed soft tissue work or general, follow-up care.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So as far as frequency, is there times that we come more often than others, or is there specific injuries, or can you tell?
We're a little bit restricted based on the prescription. So if the prescription has a very specific set of visits, or your insurance only allows a certain number of visits, then we have to kind of play with your program to make sure it meets that criteria. If you have an insurance plan that gives you kind of unlimited visits or medical necessity, then we can kind of dictate like what you're going to tolerate. Sometimes in the beginning you can't do as much. Maybe you have a weight bearing restriction where you're not allowed to put weight through your leg. Well, then rehab, you can do most of that at home on your own. So maybe you just check in with us once a week. And then as you get more functional and progress to like the sport specific phase, then you'd need to be in here a little bit more often. Some people come 2 times a week, some people come 3, just depending on how much supervision you need, how much guidance, how much motivation.
Right.
Some patients are not motivated to do things on their own at home, and so that's kind of where we crack the whip. But otherwise, it's basically based on an individual person and how they're doing.
All right, cool. What are your certifications? How can I be like you?
Well, physical therapists all have some sort of bachelor degree. A lot of us are in kines or science degrees or pre-med degrees or pre-PT degree. And then you go on to get your doctorate. I was back in the day before it turned into a doctorate, so I have a master's of science and physical therapy, and then I'm finishing a dissertation, so I'm finishing a PhD in exercise science currently for mine. But nowadays, PTs must have a doctoral degree to participate or practice in the States. So all of us who were before that time frame get grandfathered in, transition in, and you can do a transitional doctorate if you want. But it's a good chunk of school, and everybody practicing now has doctorates. And so I took a more research-based route, so I'm doing a PhD, which is a little bit different than a clinical doctorate. It's a research doctorate, and so therefore I do studies on ACL injuries and prevention, and how to assess if an athlete's truly ready to return to their sport. And so that's kind of my area of specialty.
All right, yeah, so didn't you write like a book or something, or publish something?
I do have some publications. I work with Dr. Brent Brotzman on an orthopedic clinical rehabilitation chapter on return to sport, since that's kind of my specialty. And I do some editorial article reviews for the Journal of Sports Rehabilitation, and then of course I'm writing my own articles currently, and I have some research currently underway, mostly working with professional and collegiate soccer players, and then we just recently added some youth soccer players, girls and boys, kind of looking at some growth related injuries, and so research is definitely kind of my thing.
Nice. All right. Well, you gonna show me what you do?
Sure.
All right.
Face down, your butt is mine.
All right, I'm ready. What are we gonna do?
All right, so something really simple that I think a lot of people maybe take for granted or don't realize how important it is like just the mechanic of a squat. A simple squat, and I'm not talking a crazy, gotta get your butt to your heel squat, although my CrossFitters need to be able to do a pistol. But just in general, what does the quality of your squat look like? And it could be 2 legs, 1 leg. 1 leg tells me a little bit more about like where you might have some deficiencies, if your glutes are weak, if you have trouble balancing, if you just can't manage your quad control or hamstring control. So a squat just lets me know everything. So what I want and what I look for, and this is a story in and of itself, is can you just balance on 1 leg? You can use your arms if you want. Can you manage balance? Can you drop down, hold the control? I want good trunk control. Are you all over the place? Is that knee wiggle wobbling? Are you here? Can you not get to the depth? Do you round out your back? Things like that. And Ron, you're already struggling with it, so come up. And I want to see if people can manage and hold that for maybe even 3 to 5 seconds. No big deal, but it tells me a lot about everything that's happening with you, because if you think about a squat, it is the basic functional foundational movement of running, jumping, stairs, and then you think about sports, landing, planting, cutting, those kinds of things. And girls typically have a lot of problems with this, which is why, you know, from a knee whisperer perspective, it's one of our big issues is knee injuries, ACLs especially. So, and then two-legged squats, a lot of people just don't know how to do just a basic, you know, two-legged squat. They get into these really, you know, dropped knees, which is just some glute weakness. They can't manage their trunk. They don't know how to like maintain neutral. There's a lot of things that people, or maybe you've got some restrictions in your Achilles or your ankles. Maybe you just, maybe you got stiffness through your hips. I mean, there are a lot of things that affect squats. And so it's one of the first things I look at in people, especially if you're an athlete and you need to be doing, you know, heavy loading. If you think about the physics, when you're just running, some of the research shows that it's 3 to 5 times your body weight with each impact. You run a mile, that's 2,000 to 3,000 of those steps. Jumping is up to 10 times or more of your body weight. We're talking about thousands of pounds of force that you have to be able to manage with this musculature, your trunk control, all of that. And so I think one of the biggest issues that we have that predisposes athletes to injury is poor squat mechanic. We can look at that and kind of tell if you're going to have problems or not. Part of the rehab programs are also going to focus on that. All of the ACL protocols, anything from patellar knee tendinitises and patellofemoral issues, hip issues, ankle instability, squats are going to be included so that you can make sure that that basic foundational movement is managed and corrected. So that's a big deal for me.
All right.
Yeah, good luck with that. You keep trying. So another thing I like to do is, especially like say you're a soccer player, I'll incorporate a soccer ball. In a traditional clinic, a lot of people are standing on one leg and maybe they're throwing a ball against a trampoline, you know, boring. If I have you and you're a soccer player, and I want you to be able to do the same thing. So from balance and proprioceptive point, for me, from a physical therapist standpoint, I want to know, can you hold your balance? Can you keep your plant leg? So scoot back a little bit. I'm going to toss this to you. You stand on one leg. You're balancing there. Make that knee soft, good core control. I'm going to toss this to you. Just toss it back to me, but don't put your foot down so that I can see if you can do this. All right, you ready? Good. Don't you put that foot down. Come on. Nice. Now hold that. So this adds a little bit of dynamic perturbation to you, but it's a little more fun for you to be able to like try to hold that, and the challenge of completing a volley to me as a soccer player would be way more fun and interesting during rehab. I get what I want out of it, which is balance, core control, body awareness, and you get to kick a soccer ball, which will typically make you happy if you're a soccer player. And then you can do that with any of the sports. You could do it with a football, I could do it with a volleyball, you could be bumping or setting. So anyway, that's one of the things that we like to do here, is just really try to incorporate something that you're going to enjoy doing in your rehab experience.
I like it. I like it.
Cool.
I like it a lot.
I might turn you into a soccer player.
Hey, we'll work on that.
For all you people out there who need rehab, make sure that you find somebody that you're comfortable with, that you connect with. You can go anywhere you want with your prescription. So even though you do have to see a doctor first, you can take that anywhere you want to go do your rehab. So find a place that's going to really target what you like to do and what your goal is to return to. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for watching Bodyworkers, and we'll see you next time. Face down, your butt is mine.